Authorities say that Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, appears to be the victim of an abduction.
We spoke with the sheriff's department, who tells us there are no suspects or person of interest to report right now. That's what they tell us.
In recent days, an unexpected discovery from the security camera system has brought new hope to the family and community worried about the disappearance of Mrs. Nancy Guthrie. Mrs. Guthrie is an 84-year-old woman living in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson, Arizona, and is the mother of the famous television host Savannah Guthrie. Authorities confirmed she went missing early in the morning on February 1st, 2026, after failing to appear at church as usual. Now, with image data successfully recovered from the recording device that had been removed, investigators have a much more solid basis to reconstruct the sequence of events in that fateful night. The incident has not only attracted nationwide public attention, but also highlighted the important role of technology in modern cases. Experts from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, along with the local police department, have spent weeks deeply analyzing these images. They noticed that the person appearing in front of the house around 1:47 a.m. showed no panic or haste. Instead, the actions took place calmly and with clear intent. This person walked straight to the camera without looking around or hesitating. This led criminal behavior analysts to believe that this could be a sign of familiarity with the surrounding environment. Mrs. Guthrie lived alone in a quiet house, so such a direct approach further highlighted the possibility that the stranger knew the location of the recording device well. When reviewing each frame slowly, the experts realized that this person had completely covered their body with a ski mask, thick gloves, and dark clothing. The backpack worn on the back was identified as a common model sold at large chain stores, and the handgun was placed in an easily observable position. These details were not to cause immediate harm, but perhaps to create psychological pressure in necessary situations. However, there was no indication that force was used directly at the time of approach. Investigators emphasized that all actions occurred under high control and showed no signs of impulsiveness. Another key factor lies in how this person interacted with the camera. They used a gloved hand to press firmly on the lens, then pulled a nearby bush to completely obscure it. This action happened seamlessly without stopping or checking back, showing thorough preparation beforehand. Moreover, while moving, they clamped a flashlight between their teeth to free both hands and intentionally bowed their head to avoid direct line of sight. However, under the edge of the mask, a small but important detail was still visible: a mustache. This could become a valuable identification clue when compared with potential profiles. If you are interested in the latest updates on this case, please like the video and subscribe to the channel right now to receive timely notifications. We will continue to follow and provide objective analyses based on official information from the authorities. The persistence of the investigation team has proven that even when data is marked for deletion, modern technology can still recover important evidence. For more than 8 days, the experts worked tirelessly with a massive amount of data to reconstruct the entire sequence of still and moving images. The context of the incident began from the evening of January 31st, when Mrs. Guthrie returned home after a family dinner. The house is located in a peaceful area with few people passing by at night. The period from 1:47 a.m. to 2:12 a.m. witnessed notable activity through the secondary motion sensor. Then at 2:28 a.m., the signal from Mrs. Guthrie's heart rate monitoring device suddenly disconnected. The entire event only took place within about 41 minutes, but was enough to completely change the life of a family. Investigators believe that this short period is the decisive phase, and they are carefully reconstructing each step. Today's digital data storage systems operate on the principle of marking free space rather than deleting immediately. This is exactly what helped the FBI successfully recover the images that the perpetrator believed had disappeared permanently. When the camera was removed, no new data was recorded over it. As a result, the entire sequence of events was preserved intact. This is an important lesson about how small mistakes in planning can become key factors in breaking a case. Digital forensics experts emphasize that in today's digital age, nothing is truly erased if you know the right way to search. The calm and calculated behavior of the person appearing in front of the house porch raises many thoughts about the motive. They did not probe or look for a side entrance, but chose the main door straight away. This is quite different from the actions in random break-ins, which usually avoid easily detectable areas. Behavior analysts believe that such an approach could stem from the belief that they would not be immediately rejected. Although Mrs. Guthrie was elderly and lived alone, the potential familiarity could be the factor that caused the door to be opened without initial alarm. The question now is whether the perpetrator had any relationship with the victim. The clear knowledge of the camera's location and the ideal time in the late night shows a high level of preparation. Not only stopping at fully covering clothing, they also paid attention to the viewing angle and way of moving to minimize the risk of being identified. However, this very caution inadvertently left small details like the mustache, helping to narrow the scope of suspicion. The authorities are carefully comparing with the list of acquaintances in the area and previous related records. What do you think about the role of camera technology in solving current missing persons cases? Does the perpetrator's thorough preparation indicate that this was a long-intended action or not? And what can the family and community do to better support the ongoing investigation? These questions are being raised by many people as the case has not yet reached a final conclusion. However, investigators affirm that they are focusing on specific evidence rather than general speculation. The data recovery not only provides images but also helps build an accurate timeline. From the moment the camera was disabled to when the heart rate signal disconnected, everything was recorded through various sensors. The 25-minute period between the motion sensor and the disconnected signal indicates that the interaction may have occurred inside or very near the house. No signs of chaos or hasty escape were detected through indirect evidence. This reinforces the assessment that the situation was controlled at least in the initial stage. The Catalina Foothills community, which was peaceful, has now become more vigilant than ever. Many residents have cooperated by providing information and participating in the search. Mrs. Guthrie's family, especially the children and grandchildren, are calling on the public to support any details, no matter how small. Savannah Guthrie has publicly shared her anxiety and hope to find her mother safe. The support from the national public is contributing to creating positive pressure on the investigation process. The authorities have also expanded the search to neighboring areas and used many high-tech resources. In the context of missing elderly persons, cases increasingly receiving attention, Mrs. Nancy Guthrie's case stands out due to its technical complexity. It reminds everyone of the importance of installing and maintaining home security systems. At the same time, it also highlights the challenges that law enforcement faces when dealing with individuals who understand technology. Although the perpetrator tried to eliminate evidence, that very action inadvertently protected the data from being overwritten. This is an interesting paradox in the field of modern investigation. Retired criminal psychologists who participated in analyzing the footage emphasized the unusually calm level. This person had no glancing looks or trembling, but moved as if performing a familiar task. That could indicate previous experience or high confidence in the plan. However, no one rushes to conclude, but only uses it to narrow down potential subject groups. Currently, no specific suspect has been publicly announced, and Mrs. Guthrie's family has been excluded from the list of suspects. If you feel this video provides useful and objective information, please like and subscribe to support the channel in continuing to update similar cases. We are committed to providing content based entirely on official sources and logical analysis. The clearly constructed timeline helps the public understand the progress of the case more deeply. From the time she was brought home to when the medical tracking signal disconnected, every milestone has been thoroughly verified. This accuracy is the foundation for the next steps to be carried out effectively. Expanding further, similar cases often prove that digital evidence can exist longer than many people initially think. Modern doorbell camera systems not only record video, but also store cloud data or local memory with protection mechanisms. When the perpetrator removed the device, they inadvertently prevented new data from overwriting. As a result, the FBI was able to retrieve almost completely what happened before and during the incident. This is a vivid testament to the power of forensic science in the digital age. Local residents in Tucson are closely cooperating with law enforcement by sharing images from their own home cameras or providing information about strangers. Many neighbor interviews have been conducted to seek additional clues. Although the case is still in the active investigation phase, the presence of the footage has brought a clear sense of progress. It shifts from searching in the dark to analyzing specific behavior and comparing physical characteristics. The mustache, along with the estimated height and build from the video, are becoming important filters. Do you believe that familiarity with the victim could be the key to decoding the case or not? Will digital technology continue to play a decisive role in future investigations? And how should our community raise awareness about personal security to avoid unnecessary risks? These reflections not only stop at the specific case, but also have broader educational significance for everyone. Continuing to follow the investigators are combining data from various sources, including phone movement history, if any, and financial records. Although Mrs. Guthrie did not have a camera subscription package, the system still operated in default mode to retain information. The recovery required in-depth technical skills beyond the usual deletion process. Thanks to that, the entire sequence from the approach to leaving the area was reconstructed. This persistence demonstrates the commitment of law enforcement in bringing justice to the victim's family. The case has also attracted national media attention because it involves a public figure. However, the authorities call on everyone to respect the family's privacy and only rely on official information. No sensitive details have been disclosed beyond what is necessary for the search. The balance between transparency and security is being strictly maintained. Meanwhile, the community still hopes that Mrs. Guthrie will be found safe and healthy as soon as possible. Further in-depth analysis shows that the behavior did not have immediate violence, but focused on controlling the situation. The gun was carried, but perhaps only used to threaten rather than for actual use. Combined with thick gloves and covering clothing, it is clear that the suspect had anticipated the risk of leaving traces. However, this very preparation helped the experts draw a comprehensive picture of the psychological profile. Not everyone has the ability to maintain such calmness under the pressure of a limited time at midnight. Overall, the disappearance of Mrs. Nancy Guthrie is being handled with close coordination between multiple agencies. From local police to the FBI, they are all pushing efforts. The recovered image data is not only evidence, but also the foundation to build the next search strategy. The Tucson community and supporters from afar are waiting for positive updates. Although the road ahead still has many challenges, this initial progress has brought the belief that the truth will gradually be clarified. The investigators are now delving deeper into the recorded behavioral details to better understand the motive and potential connections. The absolute calmness of the person appearing on the porch at 1:47 a.m. is not simply calm, but also reflects a high level of control that criminal psychologists describe as rare in such stressful situations. They move straight ahead without glancing around or showing any signs of hesitation. This makes the analysis team believe that the suspect may have been familiar with the house and Mrs. Guthrie's daily habits. Unlike random break-ins that usually avoid observable areas, this person chose the most direct approach, which is the main door. The thorough preparation is shown through each layer of clothing covering the body, from the ski mask to thick gloves and the common hiking backpack. The handgun was carried, but the way it was placed and the posture suggested it might only be for controlling the situation rather than necessarily causing immediate harm. The experts assess that in the context of Mrs. Guthrie being elderly and living alone, displaying the weapon in a controlled manner might be enough to create compliance without escalating to violence. The 25-minute period between the camera being removed and the secondary motion sensor activating shows that the interaction took place in a purposeful manner. Then only 16 minutes later, the signal from Mrs. Guthrie's heart rate monitoring device suddenly disconnected completely. The entire chain of events was contained within 41 minutes, but contained a lot of important information. No signs of chaos or hasty flight were detected through indirect data. This reinforces the hypothesis that the suspect maintained control of the situation, at least in the initial phase. The authorities believe that the door may have been opened voluntarily because no traces of damage or forced entry were recorded. This potential familiarity is the key factor that significantly narrows the scope of suspicion. The person standing on the porch seemed certain that their presence would not immediately cause a defensive reaction from Mrs. Guthrie. If you find these detailed analyses useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss any new updates about the case. We are always committed to providing accurate and objective information based on sources from the authorities. The recovery of image data has opened up a completely new direction for the investigation. Previously, the authorities had to work with the absence of direct evidence, but now they have specific images, accurate timing, and a clear sequence of behavior. From there, they can compare height, build, movement, posture, and identifying features like the mustache visible under the edge of the mask. This small detail, although seemingly insignificant at first glance, has become one of the most important clues. It helps the investigation teams gradually eliminate unsuitable subjects and focus on the group of people with certain relationships or familiarity with the victim. The intentional adjustment of the head angle to avoid the camera shows that the suspect understands how the recording device works. They not only knew the location but also anticipated its operating method. This deep understanding further confirms that the incident was not random, but had prior calculation. The experts are combining behavior analysis with digital data to draw a more comprehensive picture of the suspect's profile. Do you think that familiarity with the victim is the main key to decoding the case or not? Does the suspect's expectation that the door would open indicate some personal connection or just a misjudgment in the plan? And how should the community raise awareness about home security for the elderly to minimize similar risks in the future? These questions are of interest to many people as the case continues to develop. However, the investigators emphasize that they are proceeding in a systematic way and based entirely on evidence rather than subjective speculation. In the context of today's data storage technology, the suspect's mistake in removing the camera inadvertently protected all the information from being overwritten. The system only marks data for deletion but does not delete it immediately, so when no new data is recorded, the entire footage remains intact. This is an important lesson about how the smallest details can determine the success or failure of a plan. The FBI has coordinated with specialized partners to carry out the complex recovery process that lasted more than 8 days. They had to handle billions of data points in a system not designed for such deep retrieval. The result is that they have reconstructed almost fully the chain of events from the approach to leaving the scene. The biggest change after having the footage is that the investigation shifted from expanding to narrowing the scope. Instead of searching among countless possibilities, the authorities now focus on individuals who may match the identified characteristics. They review Mrs. Guthrie's relationship history with neighbors, friends, and acquaintances in the area. At the same time, they check old records related to similar incidents. The suspect's calmness under midnight pressure shows high adaptability and certain experience in handling stressful situations. Not everyone can maintain such a level of control when performing an action that requires high precision. The community in the Catalina foothills area is actively cooperating by providing additional images from their private home cameras and sharing information about any unusual activities in the days before the incident. Mrs. Guthrie's family, especially the children and grandchildren, still maintain an optimistic attitude and call on the public to support any details no matter how small. Savannah Guthrie has expressed deep gratitude for the concern from the public and law enforcement. This support not only helps the family's spirit, but also creates positive pressure on the investigation process. The authorities have also expanded the search to neighboring areas using high technology and coordinating with many other specialized units. If this video helps you understand more about the latest developments in the case, please like and subscribe immediately to receive timely notifications from the channel. We will continue to update the most official and logical information. The detailed timeline, constructed from 1:47 a.m. to 2:28 a.m., has become a solid foundation for all subsequent steps. Every factor from the approach behavior to the time the medical signal disconnected has been thoroughly verified. This accuracy helps eliminate many unsuitable hypotheses and focus resources on the directions with the highest probability. Digital forensics experts emphasize that in today's digitized age, nothing truly disappears completely if you know the right search method. The suspect's certainty that the footage would automatically be deleted after just a few hours has become the biggest blind spot in their plan. Instead of achieving the goal of concealment, the action of removing the camera helped the data be preserved longer. This is an interesting paradox that many recent cases have proven. It reminds everyone of the importance of understanding how home security devices work. At the same time, it also highlights the power of science and technology in supporting justice. Continuing the analysis, the behavior that was not directly violent but focused on control and domination shows that the suspect may have planned based on partial recognition. A familiar voice or movement posture might have been enough for Mrs. Guthrie to open the door without immediate alarm. That moment was enough to completely change the situation. The boundary between inside and outside the house was blurred and control transferred to the approaching person. Behavior analysts are studying this psychological aspect in depth to better understand the potential relationship between the suspect and the victim. They do not rule out the possibility that this was a long-intended action rather than impulsive. Currently, the investigation is in the stage of consolidating internal hypotheses. The authorities do not disclose specific details to avoid affecting the process, but clearly the scope of suspicion has narrowed significantly. They are checking the consistency between the behavior in the footage and the personal records of related subjects. Every factor from height to movement and identifying features is carefully compared. The relative silence from the authorities recently does not mean the case is stalled, but rather it is the preparation phase for the next decisive steps. Knowing is not enough. It must be proven certainly and without contradiction. The disappearance of Mrs. Nancy Guthrie, although still in the investigation stage, has brought many valuable lessons to the community. It emphasizes the role of modern security systems while warning about potential risks even in peaceful areas. Local residents in Tucson have now become more vigilant, and many have upgraded their recording devices for their families. Organizations supporting the elderly have also increased education programs on personal security. Although the path to finding the truth still has many challenges, the progress from the recovered data has opened up clearer hope than ever. Every detail, no matter how small, is being carefully considered to ensure no clues are missed. The close coordination between federal and local agencies is maximizing effectiveness. From analyzing the footage to reconstructing the scene and checking digital data, all are carried out synchronously. Mrs. Guthrie's family continues to cooperate fully and expresses confidence in law enforcement. The broader community from everywhere is closely following and ready to support any useful information. While waiting for the next updates, each of us can contribute a small part by raising awareness about safety for elderly loved ones. This case once again affirms that justice, even if it comes late, will still be served when there is enough evidence and persistence.